The first generation born entirely in the 21st century has come into age, and they've never known a world without smartphones, AI, or instant connectivity. While we're figuring out how to use technology, Generation Alpha was born fluent in digital, and that's changing everything. Welcome to Temporally Scripted. There's one by the Pew Research Center that says 71% of parents say that managing screen time is a constant struggle. And I would say that 29% are flyers for saying that it's not.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's got to be like a huge battle as a parent.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's nonstop.
Especially when you have that peer thing as well at school where, say, your kid's not allowed to do this, but like some other kid at school is allowed to use a smartphone as much as they want or watch as much TV as they want.
Yeah. One of the friends in my daughter's class, and like I say, they're 7, 8, turning 8 this year, everyone in her class. And she has a smartphone with full access to TikTok and YouTube and Facebook. She's got her own Facebook. And then my daughter's like, "Oh, can I?" I'm like, "No, you can't." Like, "Can I have a phone can I have a phone when I'm 10?" I'm like, "Yeah, a Nokia." A 3310 dealer burner phone you can have, my love. No problem at all.
You'll never break it.
No, I'll put Snake on it for you.
Oh, Snake 2.
You can have Snake 2. We'll upgrade you to Snake 2. But like, it's almost like these parents don't realize, because then the amount of kids you see running around that are blatantly like driven to ADHD if they didn't have it already because of this stuff, it's like, it's nuts.
I guess in some countries, especially more than others as well, there's that kind of like technological leapfrogging where it's like, so you have the parents' generation where it's like very little in the way of technology when they were a kid or sometimes even through their lives. And then all of a sudden their kids' generation, they all of a sudden have everything where it's all like smartphones and social media and everything else. And it just because it's moved so quickly, and especially in countries where they're developing quickly, like in places like Vietnam, there'll be kids who are at school today and their parents, it was like when they grew up, it was like even more of a difference compared to us.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's the same. You see it the same with other things, things that develop so much faster. There's like this missing sort of link between what it was like when they were young and what it is now. And there's a huge lack of education out there. I got promoted within about 3 weeks. And all of that was perception of me looking busier, walking everywhere with a purpose, looking like I meant business, and all of those kind of things that are not really primary to whether or not you get your work done or not.
Yeah, completely. I had a job once where I was a student at the time and I was working in a supermarket called Sainsbury's. And the manager of the whole store absolutely hated me because I don't usually stand around with my hands in my pockets doing nothing, but it just seemed every time I did, this store manager would just walk around the corner and just look at me. And it was always just this weird like timing thing.
It's like a sketch.
Yeah. You just got to get something. Oh, where's my phone or something? Oh, all right, Dan.
It's just busy again, are you, mate? Yeah, but I do. On the psychology front, I feel like when you work from home, if you're a good employee, there's almost more pressure to work and get enough work done, because it is like you have a day working from home. You want to make sure all of your shit is done so that people don't question the fact that you worked from home and stuff wasn't done. So in some ways, you end up being more productive because there's this psychology of like, oh crap, I don't want people to think I sat around all day and didn't get anything done.
Yes, you've got to prove yourself and prove that you are doing what you say you're going to do.
Yeah, because there was always a bit of a joke when you came back to the office and people would be like, working from home yesterday, were we? It's like this. Was you? Yeah. Get a lot done, did you? You always get loads of stuff when you work from home, don't you?
How many beers did you drink? Did you watch
Netflix.
football?
Yeah. You got some usage out of your Netflix membership, didn't you? Hey? So I think that, there's a bit of that psychology where people want to make sure they're proven to be working while they're at home. So yeah, I see that. And I read a book where there was this company where they changed the style of working so that everybody works in their function for like 3 weeks a month. And then for 1 week a month, they all focus on any piece of work that they think they should be doing that will improve their function or improve their business.
That's really cool. That's a really bright idea.
If people don't want to work with me looking casual, then frankly, they can often work with somebody else. But I could put a shirt on or a polo shirt or whatever and be in my Y-front and nobody would know any better, That's what I do most days now. No, tropical shorts. Like if I did stand up on camera now, you would see tropical shorts. That's how I roll. But yeah, there's that angle. So my point of that is, even on top of that, you don't have to get yourself ready in shirt, trousers, all of this stuff every day. Clean your shoes, make sure all of your equipment, you're not the army, but all of your appearance, everything is ideal for that.
Completely, as long as like this bit is looking vaguely okay.
Yeah, they can't smell you or anything.
Exactly. You couldn't have showered in 3 days or something like that. It doesn't matter.
As long as you've washed your face and scraped the plaque off your front teeth, then you can sort of show up to meet and get away with it. But also things like washing, right? If you finish work and you come home, then you have to put a wash on and you have to wait for it to be finished. Then you get it out, put it in the dryer. It's more time and energy you're spending to prepare for work. Whereas if you're just working from home, you can quickly run, put a wash on, come back to work. It doesn't affect anything.
Yeah.
It's not an impact. Even for lunch breaks, right? I always remember at work, you get an hour. Then you go and you eat and you get your stuff sorted. And then you're like, oh, now what? And you sit there for 30 minutes sort of waiting to go back to work with nothing.
Yeah. And you just got that complete dead time. So, yeah. Have you ever had jobs where they've been like, oh, well, we like you to be here 15 minutes early?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, and I'd like a company car at 10 grand pay rise, and I'm not getting that either. So I guess we're all going to be fucking disappointed.
It's just like, what?
Yeah,
15 minutes. It's like, yeah, I'll come in 15 minutes early and sit around. Are you going to pay me for it? No, we're not doing that. It's like, well, I don't think I'll be here I might be here at 3 minutes early or 15 minutes past, but I don't know.
Yeah, I've had that before where it's, well, you need to be ready to start work at 9 o'clock. So you have to come in and log in and get everything, get yourself your drink ready and all of this so that you're ready to start at 9 o'clock. I'm like, but I have to start at 9 o'clock because you want me to. Because they've tracked it. They've monitored humans creating adverts and what gets clicks, what doesn't, what audiences work for certain things. And Facebook knows you better than anybody does.
It really does. That's crazy. I didn't know they were going to start doing that on Facebook. Which again, that's a lot of people's jobs. There's sort of freelance video creators, all kinds of things, really.
Yeah.
But now people can just go directly to Facebook, say, I want you to make this. Okay, here you go.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's not there yet, but he's made it clear that is his intention, to make it so that you just go and tell them, and the AI handles everything else about that process. So every giant ad agency from big to small will no longer be needed in terms of Facebook and advertising, which is just one extreme thing. And if you think about the how many hundreds of billions of dollars online advertising is worth right now, some of that is in the agencies that run it. So they're going to take over these things, and they know exactly what to do to trigger dopamine and give you the same feelings as food, gambling, and all the other stuff that we know triggers dopamine.
Yeah, completely. I was reading, where did it go? Yeah, that internal Facebook documents revealed that the company tracks over 52,000 personal attributes per user to optimize engagement, which is just insane. Then each user's attention is sliced into around 1.1 million data points annually to perfect the capture of mental focus.
Yeah, I
which
mean,
is the lengths that they've gone to do that. The complexity of it is insane.
yeah, because that's obviously you got basic attributes, you know, height, hair color. They haven't got that on me. You, Facebook. Like all of those different attributes. Then you can go for all the psychological attributes, but that must be literally down to like, is more likely to click the left thing than the right thing, or is slightly more into purple than they are green, but a little bit less into whatever
maybe
than they are
based
this.
on time as well. So maybe at certain times you're more likely to look at certain things or scroll past certain things. So yes, so many different, like you say, just tiny little details about each person. And then there'll be like where it overlaps with different people and can go, okay, well, all of these people, they can have this advert.
Yeah. And then it even knows if you like, you know, you don't want to click on something, you know, and you're like, oh, but I'll have a little cheeky scroll past and a little read.
It's causing people to behave in these crazy ways, like seeing everything through the eyes of a phone rather than their biological eyes, just to post and do this thing. And it is quite random sometimes what things get the likes and what things don't. All of a sudden, you can just have something. It's, oh shit, I got loads of likes and photos. Why? It's no different to my other videos. There seems to be no sense to it, but that's the idea of it. I think it's that intermittent variable reward system, just like a slot machine.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing that shows about people's attention and their focus on these things, right? It is like a gambling. It is like one of these things that keeps you addicted, games, all of the rest of it, Duolingo, you name it, right? They're all about giving you these little rewards, gems, whatever, all this other shit you don't need. But it's also where people will like the posts the most that have a good hook on them. And it's all about that first sentence. And I learned this because of my job and what I do, right? In marketing. One example is I posted something a year ago where it's like, I got arrested. And then it's going into my story about a time I got arrested and how that led me to being in Vietnam and all of this kind of stuff.
Oh, right. I thought it was going to be some kind of thing where you were selling some product or something like that. I got arrested because my prices were so low.
And that's genius as well. And it's the same that, you know, it's that psychology of the hook that gets people into these things. And that's
isn't it
why
like sort of you have the hook and then some kind of like pledge or something like that,
a lead in. Yeah.
and then a call to action at the end.
Yeah. And they can go from super spammy to not so spammy, but they have the same kind of effect. Here's the mistake most business owners are making on LinkedIn. And it's not to do X, Y, and Z, which is
You're
like
not
the
following
standard
me on
one.
LinkedIn. That's your biggest mistake.
Exactly. Yeah. Or these things where you see, you'll never guess what Tiger Woods' first wife looks like now. And you're like, No, I can't guess. I want to know. Show
Yeah,
me.
even though I don't really care one bit about Tiger Woods or his ex-wife or any of this. This is of no importance.
It's crazy because they're really, the stat that comes up is right. It's $36 billion was digital ad spend like back in 2008, and now it's like $567 billion. So all of these platforms care about is their advertising revenue, and their advertising revenue, they want people to look like they're on the platform. They don't give a crap if you're actually on there or not, which I also think is the reason it's very hard to get them to close down these accounts straight away, because it's another number. It's another person that's a user. So when they're talking to ad companies about what they have to pay, it's like, oh, well, we've got X billion users.
Yeah, I remember something like that coming out when Elon Musk took over Twitter. And I can't remember the stats, but it was something like just outrageous of the amount of accounts that he said were just fake, bots, whatever. And I'm sure it was around 40% or something, but I can't remember exactly. But
That rings a bell.
It's much the same with Facebook. They're happy to say, okay, we have so many billion users, whatever. So if you advertise with us, you got to pay this much money because our reach is so massive. Yeah, definitely. People used to set up accounts for different projects they were working on and things like that, or different musical projects, all kinds of things. But instead of doing it as a page, they'd set it up as a person.
Yeah, this is it. So there's all of that going on, and they don't really seem to care about what these kinds of people say. And I mean, back to what can be said and what can't be said. Do you feel like there's almost an agenda or a bias behind what sort of things are banned and what sort of things are allowed on social media?
It seemed like there was always more of a reach for things on the left. But then you notice just after Trump got in a few months ago, Mark Zuckerberg does this thing and he's like, oh, well, here at Facebook, we've always been on the side of freedom of speech. And it's like, no, you haven't. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, he comes across now, and I think he's deliberately placing himself as like this, almost like a philanthropist, right? He's positioning himself, even the way he looks, the suntan, like the kind of new vibe, the curly sort of surfer style haircut. I saw a video the other day of a house where they built the new metadata center next door to this house, and they've just ruined these poor people's lives. Like that, it's literally, you see the inside of their house at nighttime when they don't even need any lights on, because the light from the data center is like so
shines
powerful.
through the walls.
Literally, the whole house is just bright light inside. But I was in Hoi An, which is very close to us, and there was a pair of shorts, like swimming shorts, in the shop, and they were a very well-known brand called Speedo, but they'd misprinted them, so they didn't have the S.
Nice.
Yeah. So they were genuine Speedos minus an S. And
Did
I think
you buy them?
I actually offered them to some of my friends.
But it's usually the people on the fringes with the outliers with wacky ideas that actually make the developments. Maybe sometimes the same is true in societies. And hence when you get revolutions and various things like that.
Or if you were a woman with an opinion before 1950.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty rough time.
Burn her. Well, maybe not 1949, but So yeah, I think it's a human problem and it's a control problem, and I guess what we're seeing now is a shift in the power of who controls that, what can be said and what can't be said. Because instead of it being governments, police, whatever else, it's, social media.
Exactly. Do you want the power in the hands of the government? Do you want the power in the hands of Silicon Valley billionaires? In the future, as AI and various things grow, they're going to be able to identify more from your social media activity and pretty much know how you're thinking from how you interact with social media, how you interact with the internet, everything else. They might come to a point where your thinking doesn't fit in with society, or it doesn't fit in with what we want. You could have a social credit score or something like that, like you have in China. And it's like, okay, well, you seem to think this way. You're not allowed to get on the train, or you're not allowed to buy a house. Some of the stuff in China seems insane.
Yeah, and I think part of it is because they know that people are so addicted to being on there and like seeing all of this banter, fights, arguments, drama, because humans are addicted to drama. That's why soap operas are so popular. In Middle Ages in the UK, people used to go and watch people get killed for stuff. Women, children, everyone, like, roll up, watch this guy who stole some bread to feed his family get hung by his eye sockets or whatever. And everyone was like, "Ooh, I'll have a bit of that." What's happening today? Oh, Ron's getting hung up by his testicles. Awesome, let's go and check that out. You know, and
I'll bring the kids along.
They'll love it. Yeah, we'll have some like rat tails for whatever. Anyway, but you see what I mean? It's like part of humans like drama, and they get kind of attracted to drama, and I think now that place where we see it has just changed, and people like a good hanging as well. And that hanging is now a social media hanging of someone who built like a reputation, a following, spent hundreds of hours on their YouTube or their Facebook or whatever, building this audience to be dragged back down.
And then when you involve AI, it's like they make a lot of other forms of military combat obsolete, because you can just send in a swarm of drones that are all like packed with C4 or whatever and just fly them into anything you want.
Can you imagine the level of PTSD in the future from the drone sound for some of these guys? Yeah,
horrible.
Like the phone vibrates too loud in somewhere, and it just like sets off loads of people that have been involved in these wars. I saw some footage of like the North Koreans that got sent in to Ukraine, and like these guys, imagine coming from like Pyongyang and like eating cabbage all day and like just having no technology at all, and you're stuck in a foxhole in like Ukraine with this robot flying above you, and you just see them looking up out of their foxholes like, what the is that? Like what is going on here? And they were just getting slaughtered. And these are, young men, humans, like no matter where somebody's from or what you believe about a certain government or a country, they're not the aggressor in this situation, nor is any military member or personnel. They're doing their jobs. And you see,
I guess they were just sent as like cannon fodder as a token gesture to Putin,
basically,
in exchange for something else, I guess.
Yeah, and on both sides, like I saw another video where a drone drops a grenade into a foxhole, and there's a Russian soldier just lying there, and he just picks the grenade up, just chucks it, and it's like, and he's just so chilled.
Jeez.
Oh, grenade. And it's like, wow, and people look at it, you're like, well, it's impressive to be that brave, but that's in the mind, you've gone past a certain point of fear that just doesn't bother you anymore.
I would imagine drone technology will get a lot more advanced as well, because some of the limiting things with, say, fighter jets is as they turn, it's the amount of G-force that a pilot can actually take. Whereas I don't think we're really going to need pilots so much anymore. And so the capabilities of these kind of advanced drones will get really crazy, I would think.
Yeah, and I mean, if you want to freak yourself out, all you need to do is go to one of those like Lockheed Martin websites and run through their list of patents and see what stuff they're patenting. If you go down that list, you can give yourself some pretty horrible like nightmares about where the world's going and what's happening. And I think there's certainly be little tiny drones that can work in swarms like we've seen in some films already. It's the same way of when they first exploded a nuclear bomb and they weren't sure if it would just like incinerate the atmosphere and end all of humanity, but they're like, let's do
Doing
it
it
anyway.
anyway.
Let's just see what happens. Why not?
And this is the same thing, but it's like you're introducing something, but it's just so dangerous, and it just completely unchecked. And I don't know, for a while it seemed like there was a bit of talk about it here and there, and people saying, well, we should be careful with this, but I haven't really heard much of that going on recently. And like, the issue's not going away, it's just getting more and more advanced. And I don't know, I think this is one of the most dangerous times, if not the most dangerous time in human history, because what the potential of what this could unleash is just infinite and potentially completely catastrophic. Not just like a few people going, it's like everybody going.
Yeah, I agree. It's got the potential to go either way in that sense. It could very much be that kind of situation.
And it just seems mental to sort of that it is this way.
Yeah, and it's also it really is the economic side of it, even if it doesn't get to the levels that people think it might get to, and even if there are potentially problems that cannot be solved by AI, being if we live in a universe where all living things are connected and there's like a deliberate nature to all of this stuff, there will be unsolvable things, and those unsolvable things remain unsolvable no matter what. But even if that is the case, it's still going to shift where the power is in terms of the world. Like we got companies like OpenAI and stuff that didn't exist. I don't even know when they first started out, but they weren't certainly, nobody knew what OpenAI was before 2022, the end of 2022. And now it's one of the most recognizable brands in the world. I guess one question I do have is, why do they all make their logos similar to rectums? Have you noticed that?
I hadn't noticed that, but that is very true.
And you have Manus, which is like anus as well. I don't know, is it some kind of in joke?
Yeah, just thinking about it now, like the Anthropic Claude logo completely is.
All AI logos look like anuses. They're all, yeah, so none of them are phallic. They're all, because you get this weird thing in logos, particularly people who follow, you know, like conspiracy theories, Illuminati stuff and whatnot. They're like, yeah, they're all kind of weird. But if you look at all of the logos, I'm just trying to see if I can pull it up for our audience so that we can see it. But yeah, in fact, there's an article here online that says AI company logos that look like buttholes.
Maybe we're just trying to say something to everybody, just like, yeah, see you later, assholes.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe that is the answer to the Fermi paradox, the idea that the universe is so vast that there has to be life all through the universe in lots of different places, but we've never seen any, which you'd think we would have. But maybe that's what happens. You get a civilization, it develops AI, AI goes, there's no logical reason for these life forms to be alive, so it gets rid of them and moves on its way.
And then AI becomes like the universal virus.
Yeah.
Instead of whatever mammals or whatever the living things are on any other planet. Because I mean, it's just our concept of life. I guess there's part of it where the AI would need to be married to robotics for it to work, because AI requires power to operate, and at this stage it cannot create its own power unless it has robotics to keep that power flowing. So there's no way of it doing it yet now, and presumably things would need to be repaired, because I still think there's like, no matter how powerful AI becomes, nature will always be more powerful. So there will always be a way of nature controlling AI in the way that we control nature right now. To some extent, we don't fully control nature, and if a tsunami's coming, it's coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's gonna wipe you out. And the same with earthquakes and all of these other things. But I totally get it, and I think that the other scary part of it is what I personally think that humans will likely wipe themselves out in that situation, rather than the elites needing to. Because if you look at the global population right now, all of the developed countries are in population crisis in terms of births and there being enough people to replace the older people. They're all in crisis. So all of these civilizations are going to die out over the next 100, 200 years anyway, right? So, I mean, South Korea, I think now is like 0.26 children per couple or whatever, which is, they're already past the point.
Example's insane.
Of no return. Yeah, it's done basically. So there's no recovery from that in terms of a country. So that's that part of it. But I think the biggest impacted countries are going to be these countries with masses of young, unskilled labor and workforce. Because in the past, if you look at the projections for like Nigeria and India and some of these other countries that have got young average population, is their economies will grow and they will become developed because there will be so much work for their young workforce. But if we get to a point where robotics and AI is good enough to produce goods and clothes and all of these things that we all use, it makes total sense for them to, like, America's got Kentucky, for example, or like Oklahoma, which is just dusty fields of nothing. They could put up these massive warehouses that have got like one person managing them, and it's all robots manufacturing, designing, creating, putting it out the other side. So I wonder if, as part of what's coming with AI, is they're going to figure out longevity for humans and what it is to keep people alive for a lot longer than what they are now.
Yeah, completely. I mean, there's already a few different that seem to work well in the kind of anti-aging process. Nothing that seems to halt it so far, but it seems like because our research with in the field of medicine now will just be able to be done so much quicker through artificial intelligence. So instead of like researching one particular thing for like 5 years, as the tech improves, you'll be able to do it in a couple of weeks because it'll be able to model and simulate all these different things and run tests. And then you can do some actual trials. But by this point, you should know exactly how it's going to work and how it's going to affect different pathways in the body and all kinds of things. So to get to a point where we pretty much stop aging or reverse it, you'd think it would be likely because we kind of have it in nature. So it's like, because aging, the best way I've heard it put is that it's like if you have a photo and you take a photocopy and then you take that photocopy and photocopy that and photocopy it and keep going and going, eventually you get this like grainy sort of picture. And that's what's happening with our DNA. As it replicates, it's like a copy, but it's not quite the same as the last one. And then the next copy isn't even. And so over time, you end up with the aging process. There's some animals like, I think it's lobsters, their DNA doesn't degrade. So they could, in theory, live forever if they didn't taste delicious. You say to the AI what you'd like to watch, and it'll just make it for you. And it'll be in tune with your taste, your sense of humor. And so you say, okay, I'd like you to make a comedy version of the Epic of Gilgamesh, starring Marilyn Monroe and Leslie Nielsen. And it'll go, okay, just getting that for you. Ta-da! And you'll just be able to watch movies like that. Maybe. Who knows?
I think definitely. I think that's where we're going. I think even a step further where it could be like, okay, we want a movie and it's Jack and Adam and they're going to be on the west coast of America and some kind of disaster happens and they're struggling to find their way back to their car or whatever. And it's like in the style of Scorsese. It's like a Scorsese dude, where's my car action gangster film that stars me and you.
And you could keep bits of it. And then or whatever else.
Yeah, exactly. Like little bits and bobs in there. And then does it not then meritocratize the entertainment industry, because as we know, there are certain ways that certain people become famous and others don't. And a lot of that would be geography, being that Hollywood is mostly America. Some of it is other things that we can't really mention right now. And whether or not that's part of.
There's the whole like nepotism thing as well, where you don't always realize, but there'll be some famous Hollywood actor or actress, and then there'll be a picture with like them and their uncle, who's some other incredibly famous Hollywood actor. And it's like, it just seems to be all these families going through. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, it would kind of make it more, more fair for actual people to be able to do it. Or would we even have Hollywood anymore anyway?
Well, I don't think so. I think it becomes at this point, and even it's something I'm looking at, is starting to be a high-end advertising agency, because I can make adverts, and if you know frameworks, then you're able to do it. You're no longer constrained by budget and by location to do these things anymore. So before it's like, okay, I'll be a graphic designer because my chances of being in Hollywood are done. Well, now it's like, well, no, actually, you can do it from your house for less than a couple of $100.
Oh, it's insane. I was working on something recently using things like Runway and various other image generators. And to make all that a few years ago, that would have cost like probably hundreds of thousands of dollars, because you're making films, you're doing all these designs, generating logos, getting characters to act, all these kinds of different things. But now it's just like, okay, well, I've got this subscription for $15 and this one for $20, and between them I can make something that looks really cool. It's awesome, really.
Yeah, and all of the frameworks for these things are available, like the frameworks for what makes good script writing, for what makes good songwriting, for what makes anything, really. It's all frameworks that have existed for millennia, patterns and semantics that have always been the way that they are.
Whether it's Mars, not really ideal, but if we can make some huge advancements in physics that actually turn us sort of interstellar or intergalactic or something, then the humans and life has a chance to flourish and continue indefinitely.
And then I can finally go and live on my own planet. And that's it. Just create everything on that planet. Every human can have their own planet that's just developed in the exact way that they like it. And if an AI can go and match you to planets, be like, do you know what? I've seen what you think. I've seen inside your brain. You should go to Planet Jack.
M320, you should go there. It's fine.
Yeah, you should go there. And we're just going to just blast you there. And a lot of that thing about like longer term space flight is fuel, energy, and food, obviously, like nutrients, food, water. So
I think as well, it's just actual advancements in propulsion, because to get to another solar system, with like chemical rockets using what we have now, even other ideas with like solar sails and things like that, it'll get you there, but it's that time thing that's going to take so long. We need to find something else that will be like an instantaneous jump from straight to the other. But there's so much we don't understand about physics, but things like this, we can begin to solve them in a much more efficient way.
Yeah, with machines driving that thought process. And it might be the equivalent of like when AI gets to that stage and looks at all of the stuff that we've come through and figured out with physics. It's like,
what's wrong with these idiots?
It's like looking at like a toddler's picture that's like a ball with like arms and legs coming out of it and a face drawn on the middle of it. It's like the equivalent of that.
You go like, that's not fridge material. That's not going on the fridge, son. That's terrible.
Have you seen that episode of Family Guy where Stewie's drawn a picture? And
no, I haven't.
And basically Peter and Lois are in the kitchen going, oh, yeah, it's so great. Yeah, we're definitely going to put this on the fridge. Oh, you've done such a great job. And then when he leaves, they think he's gone. They're both like, This is not going on the fridge. Look at this. Oh my God, what even is it? And then you
What
just
a
see him like,
loser.
funny. Yeah, but I think there's that future is still scary in its own way. A future of going to different planets, of like all of this kind of crazy stuff. It's like, is that really what humans want? And is that going to be the only option? Like, is that it feels like we're at a point where there's no future that isn't drastically different to what we experience today.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you could mark it at different points in history. You could say, oh, well, since we invented fire, things have never been the same. Or since we invented electricity, it's everything changed.
Sliced bread.
TikTok, whatever. But it's like, I think the introduction of AI to like a greater degree and being made available more to the public and being used by businesses and various other things, I don't think we can go back to a pre-AI world. And I think everything does change drastically because it's only going to like get right on that exponential curve from now on and just get more and more accelerated. And there's no going back.